Please do make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to support us. They say scars tell a story, but my son's scars told a story no child should ever have to carry. Every morning, I'd watch Elijah in front of the mirror. He would pose with his hoodie half-zipped, studying the jagged marks that trailed down his arms and across the side of his neck. The fire had left its fingerprints on him forever. He always tucked the sleeves down, always pulled the hood up, as if fabric could shield him from the stares, the whispers, the cruel laughter of children who hadn't seen their world reduced to flames. At just 10 years old, my son already carried more pain than most grown men, and the weight of it was breaking him, piece by fragile piece. The teachers told me to be patient. The principal said, "Kids will be kids." But those kids didn't know what it was like to bury your husband, to pull your only child out of a fire and pray he would still breathe, to watch him grow up hiding from the world. And when the bullying at his new school became unbearable, when he came home one day with his hoodie torn and his spirit dimmed, I made a choice. If the school wouldn't protect my son, then I would confront the bully's family myself. But I didn't know that moment would unravel a secret that tied our past and our present in ways I never imagined. Because when the bully's father saw my son's scars, his face went pale, his voice cracked, and he whispered, "I know those scars." The fire happened when Elijah was just 3. Sometimes at night, when the world was too quiet, the memory would come roaring back. The crackling sound of wood splintering, the suffocating smoke filling my lungs, the way my husband's hand slipped from mine as I screamed his name through the flames. I still see it, him pushing Elijah into my arms, shouting, "Go!" before the ceiling came down. I had run barefoot across glass and ash. Elijah clutched to my chest, his tiny body burning against mine. We made it out. My husband did not. Elijah woke in the hospital with bandages covering his small arms and face. He cried and cried, not understanding why Daddy wasn't coming. I told him he was brave. I told him Daddy was proud. But deep down, I wondered how much pain one little boy could carry. Now, years later, the fire still haunted us, though in different ways. Me, through the silence of widowhood. Elijah, through the scars he couldn't hide. And those scars had now made him a target. It began with whispers. "Elijah's the new kid. Did you see his face? Looks creepy. His melted." I overheard them the first week when I picked him up. Kids pointing, laughing as he walked past. He kept his head down, pretending not to hear. But soon, it wasn't just whispers. It was accidental shoves in the hallway. His lunch tray knocked to the floor. A basketball thrown too hard at his chest during gym. He came home quieter each day. He'd retreat to his room, sketching in silence. He loved to draw dragons, creatures with scales, wings, fire-breathing mouths. I think he saw himself in them. Fierce on the outside, misunderstood inside. One afternoon, he came home with a torn hoodie sleeve and swollen eyes. He didn't want to talk. But later, as I tucked him into bed, he whispered into the darkness, "They call me a monster, Mom." My chest cracked. "You are not a monster. You're my miracle." But I knew words weren't enough. It was a Friday when I finally got the name. I noticed Elijah limping as he walked to the car after school. When I demanded to know what happened, he admitted it. "They pushed me down in the playground. Logan did it." Logan. I remembered seeing him before, loud, confident, always with a group around him. He was bigger than the others, the kind of boy who carried authority without trying. And his father, I had noticed him too, a man who stood tall, broad-shouldered, with a presence that drew respect. Now I knew, and I decided enough was enough. When I demanded the school arrange a meeting, The principal acted like I was overreacting. "Kids fight," he said, but I refused to leave until it was scheduled. So there I was, sitting in the office, Elijah beside me, his hoodie zipped to his chin. Across from us sat Logan, his smugness flickering, and his father, Mr. Harris. The principal began with a rehearsed tone, but I leaned forward and spoke first. "Your son is tormenting mine for something he cannot change," I said, my voice shaking but strong. "For the scars that came from the fire that killed his father. Do you understand what that means?" Logan's smirk faltered. Mr. Harris frowned. I took Elijah's wrist gently and pulled back his sleeve. The room fell silent as the raw, twisted skin was revealed. Logan looked away, suddenly pale. But his father's reaction was different. His face drained of color, his hands trembled, and he whispered, barely audible, "I know those scars." The air in the office felt heavy, thick with something I couldn't name. "I know those scars," Mr. Harris whispered again, his eyes fixed on my son's arm as if he'd been pulled back into another time. His voice trembled. "Those burns. I carried him out that night." My heart stopped. "What night?" I demanded. "The Ridgeview Lane fire," he said hoarsely, his hands shaking. 10 years ago. I was a firefighter then. I was the first one inside. I pulled your boy out." The room tilted. The fire that had destroyed my world, the one that had taken my husband, suddenly connected me to the man sitting across from me. "You?" I whispered, staring at him. "You saved him." He nodded, tears brimming. He was so small, barely breathing. We didn't think he'd make it. I've thought of him every day since, wondered if he survived. And now, he swallowed hard, looking at Elijah. "Now he's here, alive." Logan's smirk was gone. His face was pale, his eyes darting between me, his father, and Elijah. Mr. Harris turned sharply toward his son. His voice shook with anger. "Do you understand what you've done, Logan? You bullied the boy I risked my life to save. The boy who already lost his father in that fire. The boy who bears scars because I couldn't get him out sooner." Logan's mouth opened, then closed. He shrank back in his chair, shame washing over him. I didn't know." "That's the problem," his father snapped. "You didn't care to know. You saw scars and mocked them instead of asking the story behind them." Silence. Then Elijah spoke softly, his voice trembling. "They call me a monster." My heart cracked, but before I could say a word, Mr. Harris leaned forward, tears rolling down his face. "You are not a monster. You are proof that miracles exist. You're the bravest child I've ever known." The days that followed were different. Logan kept his distance at first, avoiding Elijah at lunch, in class, on the playground. But the whispers stopped, the shove stopped, and then something unexpected began to happen. One afternoon, Elijah came home, eyes wide. "Mom," Logan told the other kids to leave me alone. I froze. "What?" He nodded, almost disbelieving. He said if they wanted to mess with me, they'd have to go through him first. It wasn't friendship, not yet, but it was the start of something I never thought I'd see, respect. And slowly, painfully, it grew. Logan began sitting with Elijah at lunch. They worked together on a school project. One day, Elijah came home grinning for the first time in years. Logan said my dragon drawing was cool. That small sentence meant the world. By the end of the school year, something happened I never thought possible. At the assembly, the principal announced a special recognition. The Courage and Resilience Award goes to Elijah Parker. My son walked to the stage, shoulders tense, hoodie off. His scars glistened under the harsh lights, visible to every parent, every teacher, every student. The room went silent. For a terrifying moment, I thought the whispers would return, that someone would laugh, that the white monster would cut through the air again. But then, applause. It started with Mr. Harris, standing tall, clapping hard enough to echo. Then Logan. Then the teachers. Then the entire room until the sound thundered in my chest. My son stood there, his chin lifted, tears shining in his eyes, but he was smiling, truly smiling. I glanced at Mr. Harris in the crowd. His eyes met mine, both of us crying. And in that instant, I understood. The man who had once saved my son's life had saved him again, this time not from fire, but from despair. That night, as I tucked Elijah into bed, he looked up at me and whispered, "Mom, I don't hate my scars anymore." I brushed his hair back, tears blurring my vision. "Why not, baby?" He smiled faintly. "Because they mean I'm still here." And I realized then, his scars no longer defined his pain. They defined his strength. The scars that once made him a target had become his crown. And my little boy, once broken by cruel words, was finally whole again.